Hello everyone, welcome back. We're going to continue to read the novel Lord of the Mysteries, Volume 1, Clown, by Cuttlefish That Loves Diving. So last time, what chapters did we read? I think up to chapter 93? Yes, 93. Oh, it was one of the saddest set of chapters. It was regarding Sir Deweyville and the girls that worked in his factories. There was issue with lead and other that the girls were dying from, and Clan found a solution. So let's continue with chapter 94, Hidden Sage. The fallen creator, fallen. Alger ruminated over the fool's words and fell deep in thought. However, what struck Alger the most was the fool's relaxed, natural, and nonchalant attitude. He acted as if they were equal. If he hadn't experienced their previous ritual, Algil might have thought that the fool was merely bluffing and building himself up to intimidate him and justice. But now he was of the opinion that even if the fool was inferior to the true creator, was at least close to that level. It's it's dangerous. It's also an opportunity, Alja muttered softly. He then spoke with a smile. Mr. Fool, your description is indeed more appropriate. According to our observations, beyonders who believe in the true creator, no, the fallen creator, have higher probability of losing control. The rest of them are mostly psychopaths. That's something that the Nighthawk's intelligence mentioned as well. And the so-called psychopaths didn't lose their sanity. Instead, their ideologies became twisted. Client maintained his seated posture but didn't continue with the conversation. He was still considering how to inquire about the secret order and the clown potion, but he couldn't figure out a way of asking the questions in a way that fit with his persona. It's such a pity that the gathering is still so different from an internet forum. Otherwise, I could create another Smurf account to join the gathering, and that account would be in charge of asking questions that are inconvenient for me to ask. Perhaps one day I'll learn a mirror related magic and give it a try. For example, I can make half of the members here my Smurf accounts. There are 22 chairs here, and there are 22 cards in the tarot deck. That matches up perfectly. But when I created this divine hall, I didn't even name myself the Fool or have any intentions of forming a tarot club. Hmm. Do these symbolize the 22 different sequence pathways? I wanted a divine hall, so a divine hall appeared. If I wanted a Smurf account, would I get a Smurf account? Upon seeing the fool remain silently engulfed in the thick grey fog, Audrey asked both wistfully and curiously, that sounds scary. Mr. Hangman, could you share in detail information about each and every mysterious organization? Also, and also the matters regarding each secret cult? It's hard for me to come into contact with them during my daily life. I can only understand them through the both of you. I'm willing to pay for it. May I know what you'd like in return? That's a great question, Miss Justice. You're playing the role of a My Smurf account to a certain extent. This way, the hangman will definitely bring up the secret order. You're the best. Client's mind stirred when he heard that, but he didn't let his emotions show through his expressions or moments. Alger thought for a moment before saying, I need money, £1,000. It'd be best that if they weren't bill marked by a serial number, or maybe gemstones that have just been unearthed. Price them according to the Backland Jewelry Exchange's money average price. £1,000, that's a huge sum of money. It could be used to buy a house in a high-class street in Tingan City. Not everyone would have that available immediately. Captain might have an annual salary like that, I guess. Haley's death compensation was only £300. Although Miss Justice is a noble, she obviously hasn't inherited her family's wealth yet, and she'll only be receiving some sort of annual allowance. Hmm. It's no wonder that the hangman stated that it could be paid via gemstones. Klein was very sensitive towards monetary figures. Luck- Luckily, he was blanketed in thick fog. For a single lady or madam, £2,000 could let her live a decent life. If £2,000 were invested, the investment could reliably produce an annual return of about £100. £1,000? Audrey said, sounding shocked. She then replied happily, no problem. Do I send it to previous address? Judging by judging by Miss Justice's tone, she finds it very cheap. Client didn't look over. Aljo was quiet for a good 20 seconds before he said, yes. Send it to the Warrior and Sea Bar at Pelican Street in the White Rose Borough of Pritz Harbor. Tell the boss Williams that it's what the captain wants. All right. Audrey leaned back and posed in a spectator like manner. Mr. Hangman, you can start now. Alger looked at the fool, deliberated for a moment before saying slowly, let's start from the Moses Ascetic Order. It's the earliest hidden organization. Of course, many think that the earliest hidden organizations are the Church of Evernight, Church of Earth Mother, and the Church of the God of Combat. These people must be from the Church of Storms, the Church of Eternal Blazing Sun, or the Church of God of Knowledge and Wisdom. Audrey refuted sulkily. The Church of the Goddess is the earliest hidden organization. That was the first time Clan had heard such a claim. What what exactly happened in the fourth epoch or the third epoch? Alger smiled and said, the truth is buried in ancient history. Only one thing is certain. No one has ever said that the Church of Storms, the Church of Eternal Blazing Sun, or the Church of the God of Knowledge and Wisdom were once hidden organizations. All right, all right, let's save some time and return to the main topic. The Moses Ascetic Order was first established by a few humans that had read the blasphemy slate. They believed in the non-orthomorphic god, non-orthomorphic god called the Hidden Sage. The description is that of a god, but it is more of an ideology, a natural law. For example, all objects are numeric. The hidden sage is an embodiment of spirit numerology, or that or that knowledge is supreme and the hidden sage is the knowledge itself. Hence, the original Moses ascetic order was very respectable organization and it maintained a good relationship with other major churches. The members of the organizations led ascetic lives to resist losing control and to resolve the effects of the remnant potion. They strictly kept their order's secrets and they upheld moral and religious precepts. They believed that humans continuously reincarnate after death. The sequence 9 that they grasp is called Mystery Prayer. The word warlock was also spread from that organization. Audrey listened to the hangman's description carefully and asked sharply, you said that the ascetic order used to be a respectable organization. Are they not one anymore? Alger nodded his head indiscernibly. Yes, they have fallen into corruption and now an evil organization. Why? I find their beliefs very good and very normal. Audrey's expression was confused. That was Client's confusion too. The information that he could get at his security clearance didn't provide the reason for the Moses aesthetic order's fall from grace. Alger looked at the unfathomable fool and tersely agreed. I'm not sure of the real reason. It might be because it has been buried by history. However, I have heard of one terrifying explanation. In that story, the main reason why Moses' athletic order fell into corruption was because the god that they believed in, the hidden sage, had come to life. He became the personification of an evil god. Came to life? This how? Audrey found it unimaginable as she replied with an incredulous tone. Without realizing it, she had exited from her spectator state. It's like an horror story, but the ghost is even a god. Client's heart stirred with a surge of emotions as well. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, no one knows the answer. Alger had originally Alger had originally wanted to casually say maybe Mr. Fool would know, but he held back the urge. He had already teetered on the borders of danger once. In the Book of Storms 5:7, there was a saying that Alger remembered clearly, which was, "Thou shalt not test God." Audrey calmed herself down and didn't press for more answers. She gestured for him to continue. Client maintained his seated posture and his silence, validating the hangman's descriptions against his own understanding. Finally, he realized that there were 4 points that he needed to take note of. First, the Demonist sect was also known as Demonist family in the Fourth Epoch. Back then, they had very few members, and their beliefs were passed down through their bloodlines. Plus, they would kill the fathers of their children and abandon the baby boys. Hence, all members were female. Of course, they were all from Alger's description, and there was no way to verify it at the moment. Second, the numinous episcopate that believed in death and the Rose school of thought that liked bloody sacrificial worship ceremonies were both originated in the southern continent. After the colonial era came, they almost vanished under attacks by the seven churches. But as such, they began spreading to the northern continent. Third, the current psychology alchemists were similar to the earlier Moses ascetic order. They believed in a non that's a difficult word. They believed in a non anthropomorphic existence and believed that the human spirit could change everything. Fourth, the secret order that had the lowest activity amongst all the other hidden organizations. Thus, they were the most unknown. Every time they appeared, they seemed to be after something or looking for something. What are they after or looking for? Clan suddenly recalled the diary which he had read earlier. The leader of the secret order, Zaratul, cooperated with Rosal. His goal was to get something left behind by the Antigonus family. Their appearance at that time was to look for the lost notebook, the Antigonus family notebook. Clan narrowed his eyes slightly and felt that he had apparently found a key reason for the secret order's actions. They are after the things that the Antigonus family left behind. Clan suppressed his urge to tap the edge of the table as his thoughts appeared one after another. Oh, they were looking for remnant traces of Antigonus family left behind. Then must I direct my focus onto these areas to obtain the clown potion formula from the secret order? After a further exchange of information, clients announced the end of the gathering. By your will. Both Alger and Audrey stood up together. Cutting off the connections, he saw both figures shatter and disappear. Client rubbed his glabella and attempted conjuring a Smurf account in his mind. As he thought, a figure appeared at the furthest end of the long bronze table. A figure was wearing a black tuxedo, a silk top hat, and a dull expressions. His actions were clumsy and inarticulate. Even though he was engulfed in grey fog, it was obvious that there was something wrong with him. That won't do. Klein experimented a few more times before sighing and dismissing the idea of creating a Smurf account. He attempted other things too. He continued to sit above the grey fog in the seat of honor at the long bronze table. He considered what Audrey had said, and he cast his gaze curiously at the illusory crimson stars. After a moment of silence, Klein started to pray as a form of feedback instead of establishing contact with those stars. Amidst the tranquility and silence, he didn't receive any feedback from the 10 plus crimson stars nearby. In order to receive feedback, I need to pull someone from the grey fog before I can reply. Klein nodded as he thought, feeling somewhat disappointed. He didn't want to violate someone else's will and forcefully pull them into this mysterious space. Hmm. Klein was just getting ready to leave but he habitually touched a nearby illusory crimson star. Just then, he suddenly felt that there was a faint and insignificant prayer deep inside the crimson star. Chapter 95, Supplicant. Prayer. Client's mind stirred as he used the same method he used back when he spied on the hanged man. He allowed his spirituality to spread outward and touch the crimson blob. A hazy and contorted image appeared within his sight. He could faintly see a blonde teen kneeling on the ground facing a pure crystal ball. The teenager was dressed in tight fitting black outfit with a style very different from the contemporary styles of the Loan Kingdom. It was more congruent with the traditional clothing from the Faesak Empire and the Indus Republic that Clan has seen from reading magazines. The area surrounding the teenager was dark and had old furniture. From the from time to time, the room would be illuminated, but Clan couldn't hear the roaring thunder or pattering of the rain. In the image, the teenager held his hands on his forehead, fingers crossed. He bowed forward, continually praying for something. His thick accent buzzed in Client's ear. He listened attentively but discovered an awkward fact. He couldn't understand what the other party was saying. It was a language that he had never come across in his life. To think that I cannot understand a foreign language even though I am the mysterious ruler of this world above the grey fog? Client gave a self deprecating laugh. He indignantly tried listening once again in a manner more attentive than when he had to do his English listening comprehension test back on Earth. As he was listening to the prayers, he gradually discovered something. Even though he had never learned the language the young man was speaking, he found that he had similarities to ancient Fasak. Father, mother, those are likely the meanings of two terms, right? It's quite similar to ancient Fasak, but not without its differences. Klein creased his brows and slipped into deep thought. Ancient Fasak was a common language in Fourth Epoch. It's also the root of languages of all contemporary languages of this era. Furthermore, it is still evolving. I cannot confirm it right now. He listened to it over and over again, eliminating the possibilities of language being a modern language like Luan, Pesak, or Indus. Could it be a dialect of ancient Fasak, like the languages used in the Antigonus family's diary? Client tapped his finger against the edge of the bronze table and nodded indiscernibly. There was another possibility. Ancient Fasak didn't spring into existence out of nothing. It was an evolution of Jotun, the language of the giants. The Fasak Empire in the north had always claimed that its people possesses the bloodlines of the giants. Perhaps this is ancient Jotun? At this point, Klein, who lacked the knowledge, could only stop. He retracted his spirituality without looking or listening into that scene. He had no intention of pulling the praying teen up above the fog immediately. He wanted to know what the young man was talking about first. Of course, before that, he had to observe him frequently and conduct basic tests. Klein exhaled as he leaned back in his chair. He enveloped himself with his spirituality and simulated the feeling of falling. After revising Roselle's diary, Klein charged into After revising Roselle's diary, Klein changed into his formal wear and left for the divination club. He took the public transport despite his pay rise, but he did splurge on to support Mrs. Wendy's business. He spent 1.5 pence on sweet iced tea to combat the afternoon heat. When he arrived at Hove Street, Klein tossed the empty cup into a trash can and walked up to the second floor. Before entering the building, he pinched his glabella and activated his spirit vision. Klein has just entered the hall when he felt a faint, lingering grief. The pretty receptionist Angelica was sitting there. Her slightly red eyes looked unfocused. The grief will pass in time, Klein said with a gentle and firm tone as he walked towards Angelica. Angelica looked up abruptly and muttered, clearly confused. Mr. Moretti? She quickly came to her senses and asked, perturbed, "You already know about Mr. Vincent?" "Oh, right. I forgot that you are an exceptional fortune teller." Clarence sighed appropriately. "I only managed to divine a very rough outline of what transpired. Just what exactly happened to Mr. Vincent?" "The boss told us that Mr. Vincent had a heart attack in his sleep and left this world peacefully," Angelica cried as she said. "He was so friendly, so polite, a true gentleman. He was the spiritual mentor of so many of our members. He was still so young." "I'm sorry for bringing up this sad topic." Klein didn't console her any further. He walked towards the meeting room slowly. Angelica took out a handkerchief and wiped her eyes and nose. She then looked at Klein's bag and asked loudly, "Mr. Moretti, would you like to what you Mr. Moretti, what would you like to drink?" "Black tea." Klein preferred black tea to coffee even though he found the black tea average. In comparison, he preferred ginger beer and sweet iced tea. But as a gentleman, it was not right for him to act like a child in a formal setting. As it was a Monday, there were only 5 or 6 members in the meeting room. Using his spirit vision, Klein saw that each had different colors of emotion. Some were grieving, some were more dull, some relatively unaffected. They all they are all rather normal reactions. Klein nodded slightly. He picked up his cane and found a spot in the room. He was about to deactivate his spirit vision when he saw Angelica walk in and walk towards him. "Mr. Moretti, a customer is looking for you." "Well, it's the person from last time," the beautiful lady said with a hushed tone. "You still remember him?" Klein asked with a smile. I wonder if he bought the magical medicine as I instructed. I wonder if he still needs surgery." Angelica covered her mouth and said, "He was the only person who was willing to wait an entire afternoon in the club for a divination." Klein grabbed his cane and stood up. He walked outside without saying anything. In the reception area, he found the person who had sought his services the other day. He also noticed the aura near his liver had regained its normal color. His overall health had also improved. "Congratulations, the feeling of being healthy is wonderful indeed." Klein smiled as he extended a hand. Bogda was first taken aback before he immediately extended both hands. He grabbed Klein's right palm tightly. "Mr. Moretti, you truly can see my condition." "Yes, I have fully recovered. The doctor asked me questions over and over again, ran repeated tests on me, but they cannot believe that I have recovered just like that." Upon hearing Bogda's ecstatic description, Klein calmly confirmed one thing. The apothecary at Lawson's folk herb store was definitely a beyonder. He had seen how severe the man's liver disease had been. Fully healing him in the span of few days was beyond the capability of herbs and medical ability. The only possible explanation was that of beyonder. Coupled with the incident with glacis, there could only be one answer. "I have to repent to God. To think that I would suspect that miraculous doctor." Bogda refused to let go of Client's hand. He continued on about his shame and gratitude. "Those £10 were truly money well spent. It brought it brought my life back." "What? £10? You spent £10 on the miraculous medicine, and you only gave me 8 pence for my divination? Just 8 pence. 8 pence." Lion was dazed just hearing about it. At this moment, Bogda released his hands as he took a step back while beaming. He bowed reverently and said, "I'm here today to express my gratitude. Thank you, Mr. Moretti. Thank you, Master Moretti. You showed me the way and saved my life. This was the outcome of you paying to have something divine. You need not thank anybody." He lifted his head slightly and looked at the divide between the wall and ceiling. His answer fully expressed the vibes of a charlatan. "You are a true seer," Bogda praised. "Next, I'll be heading to the Vlad Street to thank that apothecary and buy medicine he recommended." "Haven't you already recovered?" Klein expertly hid the shock in his voice. Bogda looked around and laughed when he confirmed that the receptionist was not paying attention to them. He chuckled softly and said, The doctor mentioned a caution. The doctor mentioned a caution of herbs that includes mummy powder. It's a prescription that would satisfy both men and women. I didn't believe the doctor back then, but I have no more doubts now. There's a prescription like that? Clan suddenly felt that the apothecary was a cheat and suspected if he had pushed the person in front of him into a fiery pit of doom. He observed Pogda and confirmed there was no problem with his aura. Mummy powder? He asked cautiously. Yes, mummy powder. I asked a friend and he said that even the nobles of Backland are maniacally looking for such an item. It's a powder made by grinding mummies which gives men peak performance in bed. Even though it's disgusting, yeah, and sounds dirty, it's truly a material used by the aristocrats. Of course. Bogda gave the detailed description. He had an eager desire in his eyes. Mummies? Mummies made from corpses? Then grinding them into powder? Klein was dumbfounded. Yeah, so am I. He nearly retched in front of Bogda. Those nobles sure are hardcore. Just as he was about to advise Bogda against doing so, Glacis, who had suffered from a lung disease previously, stepped into the door and heard Bogda's description. Yes, it's very effective. I would recommend that you head to Lawson's Folk Herb store at Ladd Street. Mr. Lawson's secret recipe is very effective. Glacis took off his spectacle and leaned over with interest. He recommended with a hushed tone. My experience was very, very, very perfect. You know of it too? I was just about to head to Mr. Lawson's Folk Hub store. Bogda's worries vanished completely. After a short conversation, he left the divination club in a hurry. Up until then, Klein was still a little dumbfounded. He waited till 20 past 5 in the afternoon before putting on his hat and picking up his black cane. He took a carriage down to Vlad Street, intending to observe the apothecary named Lawson Darkweed before deciding if he should notify the captain or not. 18 Vlad Street. Klein stood outside the hub store and saw the closed door as well as the subletting notice. Quite a wary man, he muttered silently. Since this had happened, he no longer had to be troubled or perform any observations. Chapter 96 Daly's Guess. By the afternoon of the next day, Klein had fully recovered from any signs of exhaustion. He walked into the Blackthorn Security Company with steady footsteps. Good morning, Klein. The weather is so cool and beautiful today. I'm looking forward to tonight's feast. Roseanne, who was wearing a light green dress, greeted him with a smile from behind the reception desk. Klein deliberately touched his stomach and said, Miss Roseanne, you shouldn't be talking about that so early in the morning. I'm already sick of today's mission that has yet to arrive. I only hope for the evening to arrive sooner. Me too, Roseanne chuckled. She looked to the left and right and then she beckoned for Klein to come closer. She lowered her voice and said, I met Madame Daly earlier. Spirit medium? Madame Daly? Klein asked in surprise. The most famous spirit medium from our county had been living in Enmart Harbor all this time, and it was in a short distance from Tingen. Yes, Roseanne gave a firm nod and said, but she has already left. Ah, she is my ideal beyonder. If I were to become a spirit medium, I would leave Tengen and travel all around the world by myself. To Intis, to Fasak, to Fenia Potter, to the southern continent, to the vast prairies and primitive forests and snow-covered plains. Lady, be aware of the Nighthawk rules. Klein shook his head in amusement. Even Madame Daly has to apply and obtain permission to live in Mat Harbor. I know that, but you can't just remind me about it now and shatter my dreams. Roseanne said, peeved. The truth is, I would never become a beyonder. It's too dangerous. I don't know when I'll die from sudden gunfire. From what I've seen, beyonders are basically people who turn themselves into monsters to fight against monsters. Archbishop Chanis said that we are guardians, but also a bunch of miserable wretches that are constantly fighting against threats and madness. Klein replied, sighing. The court had left a deep impression on him. To fight against the abyss, you have to endure the corruption of the abyss. Two of them fell silent in unison. Roseanne was first to break the silence as she pursed her lips towards the partition and said, Klein wanted Captain wanted to meet Klein wanted you to meet him when you arrived. All right. With his hat and cane in hand, Klein passed through the partition and entered Dunn's office after knocking on the door. The middle-aged gentleman with deep, serene grey eyes and high hairline put down his coffee and said with a smile, Daly was here. Can't say that I'm surprised. Roseanne had just informed me. Klein replied with a smile. Dunn didn't mind his junior. Dunn didn't mind his humor but sighed. Daly was just transferred to the Backland Diocese, which is the world's busiest and most crowded city. They have the highest population of Beyonders and the most opportunities. She has higher chance of becoming an archbishop or a senior deacon than me. Why? Klein asked curiously as he took a seat. Klein thought Dunn thought for nearly 20 seconds before answering. She has a unique talent in mastering and exploiting sequence potions. I've mentioned the internal rule of the Nighthawks before. If you want to consume the next potion in the sequence, you'll have to wait 3 years and go through a strict examination to prevent any loss of control. But typically 3 years is far from sufficient. I spent 3 years going from sleepless to a midnight poet. It took me 9 years to go from midnight poet to nightmare, a full 9 years. And to go from nightmare to sequence 6, I have already spent 3 years. I have no idea how many more years I need. Hmm. When our bodies age and our energy starts to decline, even if we overcome the latent dangers, we shouldn't attempt advancing anymore. This is because the risk of losing control at that point is so high that no one is willing to risk it. As for Daly, she's different from me and most Beyonders. After she became a corpse collector, she handed in a special application only after a year. She hoped to consume the follow up potion immediately. What surprised everyone was that she actually passed through the stricter examination and obtained the Gravedigger potion. It only took her more than it only took her one more year to go from Gravedigger to Spirit Medium. Hmm. This year it will be her fifth year as a Beyonder. She's only 24 this year, young enough to have many opportunities ahead of her. On the surface, she is the most famous spirit medium in our county, but she is truly an actual spirit medium. Isn't that acting? O'Neill had apparently mentioned Madame Daly had similar tendencies. Client felt that he had grasped the key reason for Madame Daly's quick ascension through the ranks. Captain, you're young as well. You're only in your 30s. Client comforted Dunn, but added in his heart, it's just that your memory isn't that great. Dunn drank Dunn drank a sip of his coffee. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. Why didn't you ask Madame Daly about her method of mastering and exploiting sequence potions? Clan purposely asked. Dunn put down his coffee cup and massaged his temple as he spoke. She told me to become a true nightmare. I don't know what that means. Play the role of a nightmare. Man, a nightmare sounds sinister. Clan creased his eyebrows and temporarily fell silent. Then Dunn took out his pipe and sniffed at it. Daly and I discussed the possibility of Sears' follow-up potion being clown. Assuming that the member of Sears didn't lie to you, she brought an interesting hypothesis. What hypothesis? Klein asked hurriedly, his eyes turning bright. He had once used the divination method to determine if clown was a follow-up potion of Seer. The answer he received had been vague, but it seemed close to being a confirmation. Dunn's deep and seen grey eyes swept his gaze at him while he said in a thought, a normal sequence pathway proceeds in a stepped manner. They advance according to a particular similarity. For instance, the sleepless, midnight poet, and nightmare are obviously related to the darkness of the night, as well as peaceful sleep and tranquility that is generated from sleep. It can be imagined that every subsequent sequence would have identical traits, only with more power and wider scope. They might be linked to secrets, disaster, horror, the crimson moon, etc. Certain sequence pathways appear unrelated, but when we analyze them in detail, we can still find similarities, such as the assassin and instigator. Their implied similarity is to bring people calamities, pain, sorrow, and despair. Hence, the follow-up sequence should abide by this pattern. Client paid close attention and asked proactively, but seer and clown doesn't have such connection. Yes, Dunn nodded and said, Daly believes that there might be a sequence pathway that share another kind of relationship. After all, there's a lot we do not know. He paused for a moment before saying, Daly said that in this sort of a Daly said that in this sort of pathway, the low to mid sequence portion would respectively provide the beyonder an ability that seems brand new and unrelated to the others. When the beyonder reaches a point of qualitative change, these abilities will mix into an abnormally powerful job that includes them all. In other words, the pathway doesn't advance step by step, but instead it's a relationship of dissection and combination. Klein listened intently, but he felt lost. Dunn lifted his right hand and said, a normal sequence pathway advances a bit at a time, just like a child growing up. A growing child becomes taller, stronger, heavier, and more mature from a young age, while special sequence pathways are more like. Having said this, Dunn lifted up his thumb. This is sequence 9. Then he lifted up his index finger. This is sequence 8. Then he gradually lifted rest. Then he gradually lifted up the rest of his fingers. Each and every finger is independent. It doesn't seem to be related to other, but in the end, when he said the word end, Dunn clenched his fingers into a tight fist. I understand now. Klein was suddenly enlightened. He agreed with Lady Daly's guess and the captain's metaphor. Maybe that's how it is? He nodded, deep in thought. Sequence 8 Clown and the Sequence 9 Seer are completely different and have brand new abilities. And according to the description from the Nighthawk's intelligence, the corresponding Sequence 7 and Sequence 8 Clown don't share any similarities either. Clan felt silent for a while before curiously pressing on. At which stage would the different abilities combine to form a qualitative change? Dunn took another sip of coffee and chuckled. Daly and I guessed sequence 4. Why? Klein blurted out. Because according to the way churches categorize sequences, sequence 4 is the beginning point of a higher sequences. It is said that merely achieving such a level brings about qualitative changes in vitality and energy. In ancient times, the sequence 4 beyonders were qualified to be called demigods in the fourth epoch. It's a pity that such beyonders are very rare in this era, Dunn said wistfully. If sequence 4 to sequence 1 are high sequence beyonders, then who are the low sequence beyonders? Klein asked with interest. Sequence 9 through 7 were considered as low sequence 1,000 years ago. But in recent centuries, beyonders are few in number, and each church has listed sequence 7 as a mid sequence. Dunn laughed in a self deprecating manner. Sequence 9 and sequence 8 are low sequences, then sequence 7 through 5 are mid sequences, and finally, those sequence 4 and above are high sequences. Klein repeated in his head and inevitably felt a yearning for that. Emperor Rosal was a high sequence beyonder. However, the higher the sequence, the greater the risk of losing control. Client thought to himself in fear. He asked us to in a seemingly casual manner, "What is the sequence for the portion for the Church of Goddesses called?" In actual fact, I'm not sure. My security clearance isn't high enough for me to be privy to that information. I'll be able to read them when I become a diocese bishop or Nighthawks deacon. Dunn shook his head and smiled. In fact, at least half of the church's 13 archbishops and 9 senior deacons at the top of the church's hierarchy are below sequence 4. That's just me being optimistic. The Archbishop Inse Zangwill, who became wanted, lost control when he tried to advance to sequence 4. Inke or Inse? Inse. Inse. Inse Zangwill. The one who stole the sealed artifact 008. His potion was apparently called Gatekeeper. He thought and probed, is Sleepless Sequence 5 Gatekeeper? No, that's in Spirit Medium's pathway. You'll be allowed to access that information when you reach Sequence 7 and become a bishop or a captain of Nighthawk's team. Gatekeeper is Sequence 5 of Spirit Medium pathway. Does this mean that it does that does it mean that it's keeping watch over the gates of hell, or over the watch keeping watch over the gates of the spirit world? Flan guessed. All right, go to Old Neil and continue with your studies. Dunn smiled and said, "Don't forget about the dinner tonight at Old Will's restaurant. Reservations have been made. I'll introduce you to the rest of the Nighthawks officially." "All right, I've already prepared the money." Client forced a smile. "No, there's no need. Have you forgotten that we have additional bonuses? That the part about you completing an assigned mission." Dunn waved. Client was momentarily taken aback before replying with a beaming smile. "All right, Captain." He turned around and walked towards the door while counting inwardly. 3, 2, 1. Eh? Why didn't Captain call me back? Client dragged out one for a very long time, only to be surprised that Captain Dunn Smith hadn't forgotten to add anything. A miracle. In the armory, old Neil stole a glance at Client, who was in a good mood. "Don't be obsessed with tonight's dinner. You still have a lot of things to learn, such as more ritualistic magic, ancient Hermes, Dragonese, Elvish, and many more. Yeah, every afternoon, besides your day off, you have to have at least 2 hours of combat training with an instructor." "Combat training?" Captain didn't mention it. Client was shocked. Old Neil nodded and didn't hesitate to answer. He forgot. Okay, we'll stop here for today. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Bye bye.